It's 24 minutes away from 2 o'clock. Well, over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the Fund My Neighbourhood program. Now, this has been a state government initiative for $40 million up for grabs, and we could actually make the application. Anyone out in the community could make the application, and if it got enough votes online, it actually got funded. Some great projects, including this one. You'll be a bit surprised on this one, perhaps. Yes, indeed. No business like show business. And, of course, you might recognise that wonderful pipe organ. We're talking about the Capri Theatre, the theatre that is absolutely famous for the wonderful organ. And it's been given a grant through the Fund My Neighbourhood project. To talk to us and explain how the situation unfolds is Rachael Leverton, who's one of the managers of the program. Hi, Rachael.
Good morning, Al. Oh, good afternoon, Alan. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm well. Hey, listen, you must be wrapped to the back teeth that this has been so successful, because it was a bit of a trial, wasn't it? It's never been done this way before. No,
it hasn't been, and it was the pilot, the first round, so the result has been fantastic. We're overwhelmed.
How many nominations did you get?
So 2,500 people put their ideas up, of which just over 1,600 went through as eligible ideas.
$20 million.
$20 million.
In round one.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone, anywhere throughout the state could make a nomination.
You had to be a local resident and to live in the area, and if you lived in the area, then you could nominate a project in that area. That's right.
What were some of the more unusual nominations?
We did receive some quirky ones, including some quirky names. One of the favourite of the team was a project called Our Loser Pooped, and that was obviously for some toilet upgrades. Yeah. But we received some really interesting ones, some digital projects using online and digital to bring neighbourhoods together, and some really fantastic silo art projects and those kind of things, so a broad spectrum.
I've got to ask, did My Loser Poop get up?
My Loser Poop did get up.
It did get up. Okay, new Dunnies on the way.
Indeed.
Where's that?
From memory, that's the Beaumont Bowling Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, yeah, we won't go there. Every pun comes to mind, but we won't go there. What was the process? I could make a nomination as being a local, and then what happened?
Yes, so you put your idea in, and if it was a project on council land, the idea went to the council for support and for approval. Obviously, we didn't want to do something on local council land that we didn't have approval for. But if it was for something else in a different community facility, such as the Capri Theatre, that project then, if it had support of the organisation and went through to the website, even if it met the eligibility criteria, and then people could vote on them.
Yeah, and I noticed just going through the votes, to get in the ballpark, there'd have to be at least 200 votes per project, wasn't it? It was sort of upwards from there.
Yeah, yes, and it did vary across the state, because we divided the state into 15 funding regions to make sure that some funding went across the state. Different areas did receive different amounts of votes from the community. Yeah.
So it was sort of per head of population, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Once the nomination was made, it then had to go through a verification, as you say. So if it was on council land, the council had to approve it. Then what happened?
Then, if it was eligible, if it was verified as being eligible and meeting our criteria, it went up to the Fund My Neighbourhood website, and the community had just over 4 weeks to vote for their favourite projects. And again, the voting was localised, so you voted for projects in your local area.
So you couldn't vote for projects outside your area?
No,
you
couldn't.
Local.
Yes, that's right.
That way you keep the control in the local community.
Yeah, and because it was for local projects, we want the local residents to be deciding the projects that happen in their communities. We didn't want people that live out of those areas deciding which projects for those local people.
And the funding was from $10,000 to up to $150,000,
That's correct.
I believe.
Yes, yeah. So we did receive projects, some smaller projects, between $10,000 and $30,000, and also some large projects, and a broad spectrum of projects got funded as well. So some smaller and some larger.
What was the breakdown? Do you know off the top of your head the breakdown between regional
and
projects and metro?
Yeah, so we had 49 regional projects funded, and just over 150 metropolitan projects funded. So, yeah, really good breakdown.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it? Because it gives lots of times, particularly in the regions, things just go completely unnoticed, and there might be 3 or 4 people that, are pushing that barrow. But this gave the whole community the opportunity to get behind the cause, didn't it?
Get behind ideas, that's right. And we really saw that in lots of regional areas, so much social media and people getting the support of their community community behind their project and supporting each other's projects, saying, oh, we've got a project here to upgrade a playground, but how about that one over there for the hall? So there was, a lot of collaboration across communities, yeah.
Again, just that there was one that we spoke about, which was a Armed Forces slouch hat to be built at a local RSL club.
Yes.
Did that get up?
That did get up.
It did?
That is one that has also been funded.
So we're going to... Oh, that's fantastic. That's great.
That's one of those other unique ones.
We talked to some of the people actually behind that idea with tongue firmly placed in cheek, and it's going to get up. That's going to be fabulous.
Yeah, that's certainly unique.
Yeah, that'll give Anzac a whole new meaning, won't it? What happens now then to these projects?
So the funded projects over the next month or few weeks, we'll start talking with the organisations that sponsor them to start entering grant agreements, because although the community voted for the projects, now we go into the funding stage. Typical government programs, will apply to this, and so we'll have grant agreements, finalising budgets and scopes and those kind of things.
Fantastic. But this is only round one, so there'll be another round next year.
There will, yes.
And I guess this gives us an opportunity to iron out all the bugs on this one. So presumably next year, more people will be happy to get involved.
We hope so, yeah. We'll certainly be getting some feedback from people and looking at what worked really well, particularly for regional areas, how they promoted their projects and how they got communities behind it, so we can share those learnings with people for round two.
Fantastic. Look, happy to take your calls if you want to give us a ring, if you've got any suggestions perhaps next time around. 8223 0000. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk to a couple of gentlemen who are also here with us, and they've been successful in this Fund My Neighbourhood program. And we're talking about the success of the Fund My Neighbourhood project. Your street, your decision, basically. That was the nub of the message. You could nominate a project in your area, and if it got enough votes on the internet, the state government is stumping up the finance up to a top of $150,000. Now, we've got a couple of gentlemen in the studio with us at the moment. We've got Courtney Norris from LHI Retirement Services, and also Rob Jordan from the Capri Theatre. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in. Rob, let's start with you. That wonderful organ at the Capri Theatre, that's what you're most famous for.
It is.
It is a true landmark, isn't it, the Capri Theatre?
Yeah, it is, and I suppose an iconic building in South Australia, and certainly the organ is well known and well loved as well.
And if anyone hasn't been down there, I'd suggest you do yourself a favour to walk in and have a look at this beautiful, beautiful theatre, and then you'll be surprised with what pops up from the stage.
Yeah, there's such a lot
That's
of...
the organ.
It is, yeah. So such a lot of nostalgia as well in terms of atmosphere when you're going to the movies. If you want to see the way that it was done in the old days, then it's a great experience.
What's the history of the theatre?
Yeah, so, I mean, it started out actually as part of the biggest private theatre group back in sort of 1941. It was the Clifford Theatre Group, and it was built in 1941, so it was the middle of the, it was the wartime, so it was interesting that it was built at all, but of course theatres at that point in time were the only way that we could access, apart from, listening to the wireless, but people would go along to see the newsreels and find out what was going on overseas, so it was still getting funding for those sorts of things. It was still available. And then it's had a few different hats on over the years. It's been an international cinema. I believe we went through a phase of showing R-rated movies. So, it's been a colourful past.
Yeah. And as you say, the era that it was built in, it's fascinating too that it's one of the most spectacular Art Deco buildings in Adelaide as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously Art Deco is a sort of a detailed design era, and usually quite a glamorous one. And it is a glamorous building as well, but not something you would associate with times of austerity, which war would have been.
Yeah. And I mean, the foyer is gorgeous. Upstairs, go up the stairs, upstairs foyer is just absolutely superb.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because in the 60s they modernised, and so all of that Art Deco detailing was either stripped out or it was covered up, and so the Theatre Organ Society, who own it now and put in the organ, have spent the last 40 years restoring it back to what it looked like in 1941, and now when you go in and you look at the pictures and you look at what it how it appears today, it's identical.
And it's fantastic. It's one of the few places that sells Haig's chocolate in the shop out front too, which is a very, very important point for chocolate lovers. Now, as part of that restoration and access to the wonderful theatre, what's this project all about that you applied for through the Fund My Neighbourhood program?
Yeah, so we get calls on a weekly basis, people asking us, is the theatre accessible? Can I get in? Is there wheelchair accessible toilets? And it's embarrassing to say no, and people are very understanding because we are heritage listed and we are not for profit, and they say, oh no, I understand. But I mean, I think that we have a social and a moral obligation to make ourselves accessible, because it is a part of I suppose Adelaide's history that we'd like for everybody to be able to enjoy. So part of our bid is to put in an accessible toilet and also to have an electronic wheelchair lift that will allow people access into the stall section of the auditorium.
Fantastic. And it's been successful to the tune of $108,000?
Yeah, toilets are expensive, aren't they?
Yeah. Not to mention the lift, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But no, absolutely wonderful, and it will, create access to a whole extra slice of the community out there that deserves to go in and have a good look.
Exactly, and we're going to make sure that it is done in sort of the taste and style and authenticity, hopefully, of the original design of the building. So we're very aware. I'm aware that people from the public have already commented on social media that they hope we're going to do it the right way, and we certainly are.
Well, if you don't, I think you'll get...
we'll hear about it.
I think you'll hear about it. You'll hear about it here as well. We'll let you know if it's not doing it. Because, as I said, it is it's a compliment to you guys the way it's been done so far. It's been restored to its former glory, and it really is a credit.
Thank you.
To all the volunteers involved. Now, we've also got with us Cora Norris. You're from the LHI Retirement Services. How are you?
Yeah, very good.
Now, you also have been successful through this project. Firstly, tell us what LHI Retirement is.
We are an aged care service. We have 2 resident care facilities, one at Glynde, one at Hope Valley, as well as an independent living unit community. And very much the independent living unit community are involved with supporting our resident care facility community, so our nursing home residents. It's a beautiful, interactive service. So many of our local residents who live in the village setting also volunteer, and I have a lot of contact with those people.
Okay. So, and how big are the establishments? How big is the village?
Yeah, sure. We have around about 250 residents at Hope Valley living independently, and 300 at Glynde. But we also have 120 resident care facility residents at Hope Valley and 104 at Glynde.
So fairly big.
Yeah, that's right.
Big
so
chunk, yeah.
just under 800 community members.
And what did you apply for under the Fund My Neighbourhood program?
Yeah, we looked at, through consultation with our community, getting a what's called a trishaw, which is a
trishaw. A
trishaw,
okay,
yes.
Yeah.
So people may or may not know what that is, but what it is it's a 3-wheel cycle. But these ones are specifically designed for older people. So we have the cart on the front, and that's really important actually, because it allows the passengers who board it to actually feel that they're in control of the cycle. And the cart itself is specifically designed for people with limited mobility.
Right.
It has a removable plate so that people who use a walking frame can back into the cart. And it's big enough to share the experience for 2 people, so 2 people can sit in the front. It was very, important for us to look at the design, but also to get feedback from the community to see whether they thought this was a good idea and something that could benefit our communities.
So in a way, it's a gopher for 2, a 3-wheel gopher for 2.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, a gopher, because it's definitely a cycle. In fact, it sits under bicycle laws, so quite different to a gopher, which doesn't. It's also a 200 watt, I think it is, power-assisted vehicle, bike, which means that it's that power kicks in through pedalling.
Okay, so you still have to pedal.
Oh, yes,
okay,
you do.
right,
yeah,
right.
it's.
I was under the impression it was an electric
No,
tricycle.
it's a great benefit for the volunteer as well as the passengers sitting in there. But what it means is that particularly if, like at Hope Valley, for instance, we on a little bit of an incline, that it's quite easy to ride. Now I've ridden electric assisted bikes before, and they do climb very easily on inclines. So it's great. It opens up the opportunity for many types of people to volunteer, regardless of their age and also their ability.
That's great. And how many of these units would you get fund?
Yeah, we were really fortunate to get 2 trishaws at Glynde and at Hope Valley. So
you got 4 all up?
Yeah, and so we put in 2 separate, initiatives. And the local communities in both of those areas voted enough for us to be successll on
Isn't that
both
fantastic
occasions.
that, it really is a great opportunity, isn't it, Rachel, that the locals can actually take charge of their own destiny in things like... And that's a classic example, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And it's quite a unique program because not a lot of government programs like that ask the community particularly what do they want, what do the users of the facility want, whereas Fund My Neighbourhood is quite unique in that way.
Yeah, quite often you'll get bureaucrats coming in and saying, OK, we're going to spend X, Y and Z on this, this and this, and not ask anyone.
That's exactly
Whereas
right.
This is the exact opposite.
This flips it on its head entirely.
Yeah. Cora, these trikes, what are they called?
Trishaws.
Trishaws.
Yes.
They are going to mean an awful lot to an awful lot of people as far as their independence is concerned.
Well, from the feedback that we've received, in fact, that's the reason why we wanted to get them, was allow people who are isolated with limited mobility, but also, more importantly, for people whose cognition is changing. We have many people in our community, not only in our resident care facilities, but also in our village settings, that are, have some level of dementia. It's unfortunately something that affects many of us as we get older, and that limits our capacity to remain connected to our communities. And this is an opportunity also, in a way, to, I guess, reminisce. In different eras, bicycles were the main mode of transport, and so it reconnects with their history as well, and that's specifically why we looked at these particular items, because of the sensation it gives as if you are still involved in cycling without cycling. Of course, you have a pilot in the back who's actually pushing
doing the hard work.
Doing the hard work, cycling, but it's also the connection then. So the people in the front, the couple sharing stories, that allows the pilot also to add input. They don't go very fast. I guess the fastest they go, I think, is 20 kilometres, but that's not the aim of it. The aim of it is the experience, to help people remain connected to their community. So we'll be looking at, local rides as well, and also to get in contact with nature, their environment, and a feeling of joy. So it's a form of therapy in a way.
I've just got this vision in my own mind, sitting here listening to you, of people with a smile on their face, out in the fresh air, in the sunshine, listening to the birds and having the breeze flutter in their face as they get treadled past a couple of gum trees and so forth. Just
That's
beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And the beauty as well is that our Glynde site and our Hope Valley site, there's a trail basically that connects both, so we can look at having that go along Linear Park potentially, and linking residents from Hope Valley to residents at Glynde, because there's actually family and loved ones at both sites. So this is another form of remaining connected and making our sites as one.
Fantastic, a great initiative. Rob, back to you, the Capri Theatre. When's work due to start, do you think?
Well, we hadn't planned because we didn't think we were going to get anything.
So this was a pleasant surprise, was it?
It was a very pleasant surprise. But having this morning gone onto the website and had a bit of a look, and it looks like funding is due to be released through all the processes towards April time. So we'll probably, after the April school holidays, look at hitting the ground in May.
Fantastic. Excellent. Rachel, what's the next step as far as people who have missed out this time around? Can I apply again?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And we certainly encourage people who did miss out this time around to go back and have a look at their application and definitely consider resubmitting it next year. They might have had some feedback from the community through the comment section of the website about what people might have wanted to see for the project, so they could certainly look at that. And there's also obviously other government opportunities, other funding opportunities. Local councils often have funding opportunities as well. And so we've got some resources there for people that weren't successful to direct them to some other avenues of funding as well.
Okay, fantastic. There were 33,000 voters all up.
33,000 voters.
That's a pretty good turnout, isn't it?
It's a really high number, yes. That's a fantastic result for the communities to see how many people really wanted to support their local community projects.
Okay, so the message is, if you got knocked out of the race this time, try again.
Try again, yes. Next year.
Fantastic. Well, all the best with it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it when the time comes again next year.
Early next year.
Thanks a lot.
Alan.
The website is?
fundmyneighbourhood.sa.gov.au.
And just quickly, when is the next round? I know we mentioned it, but...
Yes, so we haven't set an exact date yet, but we're saying May 2018. So go to the website, fundmyneighbourhood.sa.gov.au, join our mailing list, and you'll be first informed when we have some dates.
And does it have to be... I mean, there's the price range, isn't there, of between 10,000 and 150. Are there any other criteria that I need to meet?
So you did have to meet being a local resident. You did have to nominate it in your local area. The sponsoring organisation had to be an incorporated organisation or similar, somebody that the government can enter a grant agreement with. But as a resident, you didn't need all those details to submit your idea. We were interested in ideas at the first phase and then progressing them through.
Right, okay. So 20 million this round.
20 million this round.
20 million next round.
That's right.
So there you go. Don't miss out. Don't dilly-dally, would be the advice.
Absolutely.
And gentlemen, I'm sure that look at them sitting here with big grins on their faces. They're happy little Vegemites, and I can see why, because it will make a difference. Basically, Courtney, to your residents and their loved ones, and also Rob, to all the people who enjoy the wonderful magic of the Capri Theatre.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Good on you. Thanks for coming in. Lovely to meet you.
Thanks,
and
Alan.
that website again.
fundmyneighbourhood.sa.gov.au.
Fantastic. Get on that website, have a look at what got up this year, and start planning for next year.